Alright, so whenever you're building a wheel, there's a few things you're going to need to find out so you can get your numbers. Your effective rim diameter, meaning distance from one point to the furthest point all the way up to the other side of the rim. And now this has a offset here where these holes are on this fat rim, since the center's there and the hole's way over here. Most rims, they're offset just a little bit, but mostly in the center. So we're gonna find out what the center of this is to the hole there. And then we're going to negative that off of our flange offset here. So we're gonna have our effective rim diameter, the flange diameter, both on the disc side and on the drive side. We're gonna have the flange offset minus what we take off of the rim, and then that will give us our number here. And then we're going to figure out on our calculator what we're going to have when we do it as a 2-cross. So let me measure this, and we're going to get this one first, and then we're going to go ahead and get this one, and then I'm going to get the flange diameter, and then we're going to go ahead and do that. It's a little bit backwards, but it'll make sense in the end. For our negative flange offset, we're going to do what would be our negative rim offset to figure out what that number is. So right now, if I measure this, the center of this is about 7 millimeters, because that's 15 millimeter wide ridge in the middle. So we're going to go to 7.5 right about there, and we're just going to rough it. So from the center of that to the center of that, our offset is going to be 20 millimeters from the offset. So we're going to go negative here, 20 millimeters. And then we're going to figure out what it's going to be on the rim diameter later on after that, but we're going to go ahead and get our flange offset on the hub. Let's go and take a look at that real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and find out what our flange offset is on this. We're looking at this is going to be 135 millimeters. So we're looking at 67.5 to be the halfway point. So how am I going to figure that out? Well, that is going to be 2 different ways. You basically remove that from what you're going to find out from the edge, but that's actually 135 millimeters. So let's find out from the edge here. Best way to do this, take the edge of your thingy here. Let's get the best angle I think I can get here. So I'm going to take the edge. So I'm going to take the edge of this, put it up against the there, and then we're going to measure that from the edge of that to the center of the flange, which to me in this one looks like it is about 29 millimeters from there. So 29 millimeters, give or take. Now let's actually say about 30. So that is going to be the drive side, non-disc side 30. And that is 28. So disc side 28. Drive side 30. Disc side 28. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to measure, or what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the, from the whatever the 67.5 is, and then you're going to minus the 30 from that, and that would normally be your flange offset. So we're going to do that real quick. Our normal flange offset, if we minus 30 from 67.5, we should have 37.5. So back to our list here. So if we minus that 30 from the 67.5, which is half of that, on the drive side, we're going to have 37.5 is our normal flange offset. And if we minus the 28 from that, basically you're just going to add 2 more onto that. So that'd be 39.5. Because it's only a 2 millimeter difference. So this is going to be about 2 millimeters off more. Okay, here's kind of where the weird math comes in. Because you know, our flange offsets for a regular rim, if the holes would be cut in the center, we would be using these 2 numbers for our normal flange offset. So on the disc side, from center all the way out, it's a little bit wider on this hub to get the disc out farther. So it's going to be a little wider on the disc side and not as wide on that. So that's our normal that. But since we have a 20 millimeter difference in the rim here, we got to negative that. So now we're looking at 17.5, and now we're looking at 19.5. So these are going to be our effective numbers right there that we're going to use as our flange offset when we're using our calculator. So we've got the flange offset. Now we know what we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and get our flange diameters, and then we're going to get the ERD. Okay, for the flange diameter, use a caliper. It's the best way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and measure from the center of one hole to the center of another hole. And visually, that's about as close as I'm going to get it. Let me see if I put that on the 0 on the caliper. Does that look like it's in the middle? Yeah, so I think that is pretty much the middle of that one. So you're looking at 58 millimeters on the disc side. And then you're looking at drive side, also 58 millimeters. So we're going to go write that on over here. And now our flange diameter, 58 millimeters, 58 millimeters. All right, we're almost there. We just got to get our ERD, and then we'll use our calculator for that. We're going to go ahead and get our ERD here. I've got a couple really long spokes that I've got threaded here. Got some red thread locker on it so that it won't come off. And these I've got, as far as I know, at 300 from end to end here. And let's just double check from where it would sit on the rim to right there. That's 300 millimeters. Might be hard to see that on the thing, but that's 300 millimeters right there. So I've got that one. I've got another one here. Let's double check, make sure that that also is 300 millimeters. It is about 300, just under. Well, there it is. That's 300 millimeters. Okay, so I've got 2 of these that are 300 millimeters. So, little trick here. You're gonna have the valve hole, and you're gonna have the thing there. Okay, we've got the valve hole. We've got the seam here. So you know those are gonna be most likely the longest distance. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put one into here on this side, which is gonna be the closest to the seam. Pull that all the way through. And the reason why I have the ruler in my hand is because I was going to use that to measure So that's the closest one to that seam there. Now I'm going to get the hole that's closest on this side of this hole, because the seam's here, that's the hole on that side. So here's the hole for the valve. We're going to go to the hole on that side, drop that in, and then we're going to figure out what the distance is. So 300 plus 300 would be 600, because we have two of these. If you add them together from end to end like this, that would be a 600 millimeter ERD, and if it's bigger, you would just add on the difference between the two. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to remove the difference between these two if my ruler will fit. I've got about about 200. Got 210 that I will need to remove. It's got a little bit of play. Let's measure it one more time. It's probably going to be 212. About. No, it's still about 210. So 600 minus 210, you're looking at 390. So this rim, effective rim diameter, is 390 from inside to inside. So it's 390 millimeters on the inside. So now let's write that down on our list. All right, so we know that with our gauge being a maximum of 600 for maximum, and then we're going to minus the 210 of the difference between what they were when you measured it, and that should equal 390 millimeters. So our effective ERD is going to be 390. Let's go ahead and show you on the computer which one of these programs that I like to use to figure this out. And then we're also going to show you here in just a second the washers I'm going to put here on this that we're going to add on to this. So just a second, because this is a custom wheel, so I'm going to do a custom option to this so that my numbers will make more sense to you. So let me get that right now. All right, I know we've got our ERD, we've got everything else measured here. The thing about this particular wheel is that it's got bigger holes drilled in this rim for 12 gauge spokes, and I'm going to be putting 14 gauge spokes on here because the new hub is drilled for the 14 gauge spokes, not 12 gauge. So that means that this is going to be a little bit more loose inside of there compared to a regular rim. So my remedy for that is I'm going to be grabbing these little spacers here, and that is going to give me a steel reinforcement ring, because this is an aluminum rim and it's going to end up cracking or splitting that hole. So if I put most of that pressure more out this way instead of it being on that little ball in there, it'll help spread it out and take up some of that little bendiness there. That way it'll grab better on the aluminum and not crack the aluminum. It's going to add a little bit of weight, and I do have to take up the diameter or the thickness of the thing here, of the spacer. So my spacer is, and that says it's 2 millimeters. So this is 2 millimeters thicker. So my ERD is not only 2 millimeters thicker here, but it's also 2 millimeters thicker on the other end too. So we need to add 4 millimeters onto mine. So mine would be 394 ERD when I add these in. So let me go ahead and show you on the computer how I do this. Okay, if we do a quick Google search here under bicycle spoke calculator, you get all these ones here, which are all pretty good. The one I like the most is this one, United Bicycle Institute. The reason why I like this one is because it has everything right here. Super quick, super easy. We put in our ERD, which on my list here was 394, because that's what I measured everything out for. Then your hub flange diameter is going to be 58. And on this hub, both of them are the same. So this one, the center to flange. Now remember, we have offset it, so I'm going to do the disc side, which is going to be 19.5 millimeters. Hull diameter 2.5 is your normal for that. We're going to be doing 36 holes, because that hub is a 36. Some are 32, some are 28, there's 24 at 20, so we're going to go with 36. Number of cross. We're going to make it look stock at a 2 cross. I'm going to calculate that out. Let's go down. 175.6 millimeters. So remember, we had it on there, all that. So I'm going to write that down. The thing about this is that all you have to do is go here and change off that center to flange in order to get the other size. So all the other numbers match. And I'm going to hit calculate. It's going to be about the same length, because this one's 175.6. Drum roll, please. 175.4. So 175.6. I'll write it down on there. And that's how easy it is to get your hub flange diameter. There are equations. There's all kinds of other things that you can do to get these. There are apps that you can buy. I think that the spoke calculator, this so far has been the most accurate and the best. And you can even print these calculations out. So go to United Bicycle Institute. This is under their resources, which is going to be right up here at the top. Spoke calculator. Boom. And then start fresh from there. Boom. All right, we've already figured out what our spoke length is going to be, so now let's go ahead and start getting these spokes cut to the right length. You're going to need, of course, a spoke ruler, like so. You're going to need a very good pair of cutters. These are the ones that you normally use for cable cutting and doing housing and stuff like that, but I'm going to use it for these today. I don't recommend doing this with the shop ones, because your other mechanics will get mad if you get these all chewed up and you ruin the bits on these. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this thing up, because our length that we're looking for right now is going to be 175.6, 175.4, so we're just going to cut these to 176s because it's pretty much even. So we're going to cut all these to 176. So with the spoke ruler here, you've got it where it's zeroed out here, and then you've got all the different lengths there. Put it on there, hold it, that's going to hold it there. I'm going to find the 176, which is right here. So it's going to go, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 170. So I need 176. We're going to take a good pair of cutters. I'm going to cut it right about there. And see, I'm putting the tip of the cutters pretty much right where the 176 is going to be, and looking where the flat part of the back of that is, and that's going to be about right there. So then you want to cut them right about there. Double check it, and hopefully you'll have a couple extra spokes. Let's see. Those are 176 millimeters. I'm going to cut all the rest, and then I'm going to show you the sanding. Now I got all my spokes cut. What we got to do is we got to get these ends that aren't going to want to thread very much because I've chewed them up a little bit with the cutters. But when you cut them with a flat kind of cutter, anything else that's not like a spoke threading tool that cuts it and feeds it through at the same time, this is going to be marred up just a little bit on the ends. So I always like to smoothen them out. You can either use a piece of sandpaper, you know, on a nice flat surface like this, and then what you're doing is you're twisting like this, or you're spinning it like this while you're pulling it. So I put it on here, and then I'll drag it at just enough an angle just to get the burr off of the edge of that. There's just a tiny bit of a burr right on the end of that. So we're gonna get this off like this with the file if we don't have a sander or anything else. But I'm gonna cheat because I have a sander. See how that gets that nice and kind of smooth on the outside there? It feels smooth now. All right, but I'm gonna cheat a little quick, and we're gonna use the sander. All right, we've got all of our spokes prepped up, ready to go. And you're probably all wondering why would he grind the end of that if he's just going to thread it. Well, the ends of these had a little bit of a burr on them from cutting them with the cutters that I have. Some cutters will leave burrs, so he went in and sanded that off. So it makes it easier for this to actually catch the threads and not try to push the burr down, and it saves damage on these, so it cuts a good thread. If you have a fill wood machine or a different kind of machine, it cuts it clean and threads it all in one swoop. But this, we're going to actually have to go here. So we're going to feed this. I'm going to go this way. This little piece will open up right here. This little piece right here opens up, goes through. I'll show you if you keep on threading this all the way. Don't recommend it, but I'm taking it all the way so people can see that this is hollow all the way through the whole entire thing there. So that the spoke goes in the end of this, goes through here, comes out the end of that. And then this has this spring-loaded set of jaws that come down. There's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. That come down and hold the spoke. So if you feed that through like that, spoke will go through. Go pretty much almost all the way to the threads. Maybe out a little bit, maybe to the end of where these little nuts are right here. And then you're going to tighten it down. It's going to hold the spoke there. You're going to give it a good push, really push on it this way. Hold it while you're doing it. And that will really start the threads. Now, I'm going to do that one more time because I was trying to be too light on pushing this down. So if it threads like that and pushes out, good squeeze. All right. Now, I don't know, I just remember blackjack in 21. 21 twists. 21, just twist back. Until it isn't on there anymore. Might need to back that back up. Let's do it one more time. Now this is a brand new hose-on tool. So this is the first thread it's ever cut. So we're gonna double check and see if that's even tight enough to fit the nipple onto. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna catch some thread. Oh, look at that. It makes the most perfect threads. So now we have a threaded spoke. Let me show you a few more, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, so side. Leave a little gap, just enough. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Don't worry about counting on the way back. Just go all the way off. You want to all the way off because you want to start fresh again. 1, 2, 3. Now you may be asking, why are you doing it twice? Because I want to make sure the threads are perfectly shaped, because it doesn't actually cut threads, it presses threads into the spoke. You see that? Let me see if we can get a little closer look. It might not do that there, but it presses threads into it so the material actually expands out. That way when you put the nipple on, it catches a lot of the material. So it actually expands out enough into there, catches that. So I always run it through twice on these. Even on a fieldwood spoke machine, I've been known to a lot of times run it through twice, especially if they're a coated or colored spoke. Always run it twice through machines. Black, run it twice. Silver, you may not have to because there's no coating on it. The black, there's something that coats it to make it black. So it's always a good idea to do it twice. Almost down to the last 2 spokes here. Getting really good at doing this pretty quickly. I wanted to show you, once I'm done with these guys, why I do 21 rotations of this. It's because that's what's going to equal the 10 millimeters of thread that you're going to need. So let's see, 10 millimeters right there. So the thread needs to be about 10 millimeters worth of thread. 10 to 12 millimeters, normally about 10 millimeters worth of thread. So that 21 rounds on this particular machine going through there gives me exactly that 10 millimeters worth of thread that I need. So that's why I do 21. You don't have to, you can put more on there, but usually 21 twists of this going all the way around will normally get you going. There we go. All right, we're gonna give you a quick little rundown on how I like to start my lacing of rims. Everybody's got their technique on how they like to do it. This is just how I like to do it, mostly because I like to have the label of the hub lined up with the hole here. So it's kind of what I do. I'm gonna make sure that the drive side, or the whatever the drive side is gonna be, that side, disc side this side, really doesn't matter. It's however you want to do it. But I'm gonna start it from these 2 holes here and this hole that I'm gonna kind of use as my visual. So I'm gonna look over here and then find out where these are lined up at. So the lettering is pretty much lined up with like that hole right there. So we know that these holes right here are not in center with the valve. We know that they're off just a little bit like this. So we want to kind of go this way with it. So instead of being these holes being the center, we're going to go over. Now, for the amount of crosses that you're going to have, there's all the holes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a 3 cross. 1, 2, 3 for a 2 cross, and then of course just 1 over for a 1 cross, because you're only going to go 1 over. So it's kind of almost always odds. So if you want a 1 cross, you go 1 over. If you want a 2 cross, you go 3 over. If you want a 3 cross, you go 5 over. So it's always like an odd number. And when you do want a 4 cross, literally you go over 7 of them, and sometimes it's too far between the hole there and where this is. So a lot of the old hubs had a much skinnier intersection or middle section of the hub, much skinnier with the big high flanges, so you could run a 4 across. I've even seen a 5 cross, which looks ridiculous and it's almost impossible to do. But we're going to do 2 cross today, so I'm going to find out pretty much where the center of that's at. So I'm going to go over these holes, 1, 2, 3, and that is kind of where it looks like it's going to line up, because if I go over to these holes right there and I make it point this way, it's not going to line up. So I'm going to go this way, boom. So those holes will kind of line up just like that. If I go over one more, it'll actually line up probably even better that way. No, I like it like that. So we're going to start from there. Another thing you can also do is, since this has got 3 holes, there's a center of it. So if you want to line it up, you can try lining up this hole with the center of that if you want in some way, but I'm just going to go over that many holes. So we're going to go inward on the disc side. We're going to start with the inward one here. I'm going to go to this side over here. Now remember, I have this offset because the holes are so big for 12 gauge. So I'm going to drop one of my spacers on it. Drop my nipple on, screw it on. Now I'm in this hole here, the valve hole's here. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3 holes. And this should give me my 2 cross. And then most of the time, to make it stronger, you want to cross this behind it. So it's going to come out of the hub, go behind the other spoke before it hits the ring. Like that. Boom. There you go. Now those are all set there. Now for the other side, you basically just want to kind of do the same thing, but you want to look down the hub and see which holes are going to line up for the ones that you want, because now we're going to have these over 1 bit because these are offset just a little bit. So I'm going to look here. It's going to be this one here and this one here. And now I already know I got my cross proper, so I'm going to do this. Cross those over backwards and then put them into the rim, because the first cross is the one that takes the most. So now we got this. Some other guys will tell you this is not the way you do it. This is just how I establish my cross and then do the rest of the lacing. So we're going to do that. Couple spacers, nipples. All right. Perfect. So now the cross is started. It's almost going to be in the right spot. And if I look where the valve hole is, and I will look at where the labeling of the hub is and where the seam is, it's almost perfectly in line. So it should go straight up. There's the label. There's the valve. So when you have the valve should be pointing right at whatever the branding of the hub is. So let's go ahead and let's feed the spokes all the way through, and we're going to go the other way. Let me get a little different angle so I can show you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this. Now with this on here, I can actually kind of put this against me here. And then I'm going to start with all these ones first. So you can skip that one, because those are going to be the ones that are going to be coming this direction. So we're going to skip that one there. There we go. Every other hole. That's the way to do it. Now, if you want, we can already start doing one side and then do the other side, if we'd like to, which is what I think I would like to do now. So we got that side going. Hold on to the spokes. Go to this side. Yeah. Remember, every other hole. Bam. There we go. All right, so now we've got some spokes in there. Do it this way. I'll do it this way. There we go. Here, now this is probably a good time to start just putting the spacer onto the nipple. And now it's every other hole. 1, 2, on just the one side. Grab the spoke right across from it on the other side. Follow the same pattern. I'm going to be lazy real quick and just do it this way for a second. Okay, now I've got all the spokes going in one direction. Basically all the spokes that are going inward are going all in one direction. Now all the ones that I'm going to go from the inside coming outward are going to go in the opposite direction, and we're going to go behind each one. But you have to do one side at a time to do that. You can't just stuff them all in there at the same time. So let me get you a little different angle so I can show you that as well. Put all these through, so we're going to go and feed these through the back side here, like so. All right, so now do this. Behind, bring it around. Get the nipple ready to go. Just don't want to scratch the rim up. There we go. And line it up. Thread that through. And now we're going to start getting some resistance. There we go. Come on, just go on there. Come on. Let me get a different nipple. It's probably messed up a little bit for some reason. There we go. And now we're just going to keep following the same pattern over and over again, because now all we have left are the holes that are on this side for that side left. So it shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'll show you guys the last of it. And we're going to cut to the other side in just a minute. So we're going to try to get this other side done, even though we've got my neighbor's dog barking like crazy for some odd reason, and I don't know why. And he won't shut up. And I love dogs. My dog does not bark like that at all. This dog barks, 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 barks. The spoke I just dropped, put that in there. All right, so once we get this all done up, we can go ahead and screw it on up, tension everything up, get her all nice and straight. Then the front will be done. And the next step will be to get the fork on. I'm gonna work my way from the front to the back of the bike itself. So we're working on the wheel first, getting this first done. This is gonna be a custom build. I don't think there's gonna be anybody else so far that will have this particular bike set up like this, but I got this. I always got this because everything is absolutely fixable. And if you want it to work, it's whatever your wallet and your heart desire. And that's pretty much philosophy for life nowadays. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up, and then I will show you guys how to true it up. Okay, so now I've got the wheel all laced up and ready to go, but if you notice, there's all the ends of the spokes and all that stuff are still sticking out. It's built though, it's laced, but it needs to be tensioned. So what it is all these little bits of thread that you see here. I need to lube all these things up before I start screwing these down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the nipple right there to the end of the thread on all of these, and then spin it and then see where I'm at. And then I'm going to continually turn on one side, this side first, probably go like a full turn on each one all the way around, and then go do a full turn on each one around on the other ones, and then see where it's at, and then continue doing that on each side until I have the proper tension that I'm kind of looking for, and then trying to keep this from going up and down and keep it from going from side to side inside of the calipers here. Because once you bring these calipers up, by unscrewing this little nib here on this one, comes right on up, and then you can open this, or you can close this, and then eventually this will sit in the middle. But let's check it out. I'm going to take my trusty tri-flow here, and I'm going to put it on the threads of each one of these spokes. Need to get me a new bottle. This bottle is getting a little bit old here. Put it on the threads of each one. Since I have spacers going on the insides of these, I'm not going to do the rim right now, because normally I would also be lubing up the edge of the nipple holes. That way, if there's any roughness or anything to the hole itself when they drill it, it allows this to slip without grinding in, because I've had some velocity rims back in the day that were machined so precisely and so sharply that they would actually cut into the nipple, and then it would basically be like a lock washer, and they wouldn't even allow the nipple to turn. And then the guys at Velocity, they're like, yeah, just put on a couple drops of tri-flow on each one of those and allow it to slip just fine. And I've been doing that ever since. And on this one, since it's got these little things on the inside, I'm going to lube these up too, and then we're going to tension it up. So let's check it out. All right, to make this process just a tiny bit faster, because I'm going to go around and try to make every single one of these spokes threads just about right, I'm going to go ahead and put my little flathead thing that I've carved out so it fits right in the end of the nipple. And then I'm going to screw these in until that disappears the threads. And we're going to go from there. The thing is, it's really hard to see since you put on Tri-Flow. It's already penetrated, so now we can go around and get rid of some of the excess there. That way we can see the threads and see how much we're working with. And trust me, the Tri-Flow has already done its job by this point. It's already on the thread, so I'm just wiping off just whatever the excess is. Boom. There you go. And I'm just going until the threads disappear. Because you'll be definitely threading it on more than that. I'm just putting it on until the threads disappear. So now let's do this side over here. Real quick. Just doing this so I can see the threads. Got quite a few of these already going pretty far on this side. Where we're at. We still got a little bit of ways to go. So I'm going to continue tensioning this evenly all the way around now that all the threads are gone. And I'm going to go around and pretty much just do like 1 or maybe 2 full turns on each one of these, and we'll go from there. So let me do that, and then we'll show you guys in a minute how this turns out. All right. Okay, so I've got to the point where I've got them kind of tightened up all evenly, and you see how the wheel's a little off kilter here. So everything's never going to be perfect. But when you tighten it all evenly, if you look, it doesn't really hop up much and down. It's mostly going from side to side. You want to make sure that you grab some sort of screwdriver or anything like that. And before you do any more tensioning here, that it's starting to set and everything else, so we're going to go around and where this is crossing and going underneath there, we're going to go ahead and help it pre-tension that and give that a little bit more stretch. It'll straighten these out some more so they won't be so curvy. On 36 hole, there's only going to be, 9 pairs on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. And that should be good. Pre-stretch those out a little bit on there. So now, it's actually not too bad. But it's going this direction. It's also going up that way. So that means that I've got a couple spokes over here that are too tight. And that would be probably this one. And maybe this one over here. So I can feel the tension with my fingers as I'm squeezing it. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up a little. See, that was really loose there. That one's not so loose. And you can feel it in the tension. When you're tightening it, you can feel it. You can feel which one. And you want the tension to feel kind of even. See, look at that. Boom. It's even straighter already. See, we got some spots over here that are a little bit too high though. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to adjust. Oh, see, that one was a little tight. There we go. Oh, we got way better already. I'm going to continue doing this, and you'll see how nice and straight it is once I've worked. Oh yeah, this is going to turn out nice. Okay, well the wheel build is pretty much done. I've got all the spokes tensioned up. really nice and tight, just about as much as I want them to be. Do maybe some final trimming, but other than that, I think that's pretty straight for this pretty good wheel here. It's a disc wheel, so it's not really as bad, you know, if it's not perfectly straight. Other than that, this is this portion of this build, so we're going to go ahead and move on to putting on the fork. We're going to put the tire on, the whole 9 yards, but the next one is going to be the fork, and then go from there. So let's cut to the next part of the build.